Hey, Reddit. I never thought I'd end up writing something like this. But here we are. I guess I just need to unpack everything that happened over the last few years before I lose my damn mind. My name's Jake. I'm 32, and up until a few months ago, I was in a relationship with someone who completely wrecked me. Her name was Madison, Maddie for short. At first, she seemed amazing, funny, confident, gorgeous. The kind of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room. She came off as super independent and outspoken, which I liked at the time. We met through mutual friends at a backyard barbecue. She was wearing this vintage band tee, had a drink in her hand, and absolutely owned the conversation. We hit it off fast. By the end of the week, we were texting every day. A few weeks later, she was practically living at my apartment. I thought it was love. Real consuming, can't get enough of you love. And maybe it was at first, but little by little, things started to shift. It started with small things, like she'd make fun of my friends, say they were immature or bad influences. Then it became my job. I work in sales, and she'd say stuff like, "Isn't it exhausting lying to people all day?" She always made it sound like a joke, but it never felt like one. Then came the jealousy. God, the jealousy. She'd go through my phone while I was in the shower, question me if I liked someone's post. Once, she blew up at me for smiling at a waitress. I told myself it was passion, that she was just afraid of losing me because she cared so much. I made excuses for her constantly, but the truth is, I was already neck deep in something I didn't know how to escape, and I didn't even see how bad it was going to get. So yeah, the red flags kept piling up, but I kept pretending everything was fine. The thing with Maddie is, she knew how to flip the script real fast. 1 minute, she'd be tearing me apart for something stupid, like not texting back fast enough, and the next, she'd be curled up next to me saying, "I just get scared you'll leave me one day." That kind of emotional whiplash screws with your head. She started isolating me more around month 6. My best friend, Tyler, tried to warn me early on. He said something like, "Dude, I don't like the way she talks to you. It's not normal." I told him he was overreacting, that Maddie just had big feelings. But Maddie didn't like Tyler. She said he was toxic, manipulative, that he was secretly in love with me. I laughed it off at first, but then she started planting these weird ideas in my head. Like maybe Tyler was trying to sabotage our relationship. Eventually, I stopped hanging out with him. And with most of my other friends too, to be honest. Maddie always had a problem with someone. Either they didn't respect our relationship, or they made her uncomfortable, or they weren't real friends to me. The result? I spent nearly all my time with her. Even my mom noticed something was off. She called one day while Maddie and I were watching a movie, and I told her I'd call back later. After I hung up, Maddie got all quiet. Then she goes, "You always light up when you talk to her. Do you wish she was your girlfriend instead of me?" Who even says that? But then came the tears. The whole waterworks show. You don't love me like I love you. You're going to leave me like everyone else. I don't deserve you. She'd cry herself to sleep on my chest, and I'd stay up staring at the ceiling wondering what the hell was happening. I thought, maybe I just needed to be more patient. Maybe she was just damaged. I mean, aren't we all a little broken? But this wasn't broken. This was something else. This was the beginning of losing myself. I wish I could say I finally woke up and left, but that's not how it happened. Things kept getting weirder, heavier. Every time I'd start pulling away, even just a little, Maddie would find a way to rope me back in. There was 1 week where I was as close to breaking it off. I'd started journaling, just to stay sane, and I actually wrote out what I wanted to say. I even practiced a speech in my car. I felt sick doing it, but I knew something had to change. And then she told me she might have cancer. Yeah, out of nowhere. She said she found a lump, and the doctors were concerned. But she didn't want to talk about it too much because she didn't want to stress me out. I remember just standing there, stunned. All the anger, the resentment, it vanished in a second. She looked so scared, so vulnerable. So, of course, I stayed. I canceled plans, took time off work, cooked for her, held her hand at night when she cried. I even offered to go to the doctor with her, and she said no, she needed space. I respected that. I mean, it's her body. I wasn't going to push. But weeks went by and there were no appointments, no scans, no test results. Every time I asked, she'd get defensive or say something like, "It's not about me being sick. It's about me feeling like you don't care." Eventually, she claimed it was a false alarm. "Just stress," she said. "Hormonal stuff." But by then, I was too deep in it again. I couldn't even remember what my plan was. I just knew I felt responsible for her. Like, if I left now, I'd be a monster. I mean, who walks out on someone when they're scared and vulnerable? She knew exactly what she was doing. That was the first time I realized Maddie didn't play fair. She didn't argue. She didn't fight. She manipulated. And me? I kept convincing myself this was just a rough patch. But the truth was, I was already stuck. I just hadn't figured it out yet. After the fake health scare, things didn't actually improve. They just shifted into something harder to explain. Maddie had this strange ability to hit reset anytime things got tense. But it wasn't through real conversations or apologies. No, she'd flip the switch using emotional guilt or weird, over-the-top vulnerability. Like clockwork, if I was upset about something, her lying, acting cold, whatever, she'd suddenly become the most fragile person alive. She'd start crying, saying stuff like, "I just feel like no one ever understands me," or "Everyone always gives up on me." It would totally throw me off. Suddenly, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was worried about her. And then came the silence. That was her favorite punishment. It'd start over something so minor, like me forgetting a call during lunch or not responding to a text fast enough. Suddenly, she'd go completely quiet. I'd come home to her acting like I didn't exist. I'd ask what was wrong, and she'd give me this empty stare or a one-word answer like, "Nothing." For days, it was like living in a freezer. After a while, I'd break down and apologize. Every time, even when I had no idea what I was apologizing for. "I'm sorry if I hurt you," basically became my go-to phrase. Then she finally let me back in, like she was granting me access again. I'd feel relieved, not happy. Just relieved the punishment was over. She once told me I was the only person who understood her chaos, that I had a way of calming her storms. That sounds poetic, right? But in reality, it was just more pressure. If I ever got frustrated or needed space, she'd hit me with, "Guess I really am too much for everyone." I didn't even realize it, but I was constantly managing her emotions, always trying to keep things stable. I started saying no to plans, avoiding my friends, just to avoid upsetting her. I even lied to my brother when he asked if everything was good between us. I said, "Yeah, she's just going through stuff." But deep down, I knew I was lying. To him, to myself. She didn't have to scream or throw things. She didn't need to yell. All she had to do was pull back, go cold, or fall apart, and I'd do whatever it took to fix it. And somewhere along the way, I stopped feeling like her partner. I just felt like her emotional caretaker, with no idea how to escape. If there was one thing I still had going for me during all this, it was my job. I work in sales, corporate software stuff. Not glamorous. But I'm good at it. My company had been talking about promoting me to a regional manager role for a while. It meant more money, more travel, and yeah, more responsibility. I was pumped. For once, I had something that felt like mine. Something I'd earned and something I could be proud of. When I told Maddie about it, she smiled at first, gave me a hug, said, "That's amazing, babe." But something about it felt off. It was the kind of smile people give you when they're already planning to knock over your sandcastle. Later that night, she got quiet. I asked what was wrong, and she said, "I just feel like this means you'll be gone all the time now." I told her it wasn't that kind of travel. It was mostly local, nothing crazy. But she wouldn't let it go. Said things like, "You already barely have time for me now. And I just hope success doesn't change you." At first, I thought she was just nervous, maybe feeling left out. So I tried to include her. I shared the offer letter with her, told her how excited I was. I even asked if she wanted to help me pick out new clothes for the meetings I'd be going to. But the closer I got to promotion, the more she pulled back or blew up. A week before I was supposed to meet with upper management, she picked a fight over nothing. Like, I didn't answer her call while I was in the grocery store, and she went full meltdown, accused me of hiding something, and then didn't talk to me for 2 days, right before my big meeting. I showed up to work exhausted, rattled, completely out of it. My manager even asked if I was okay. I told him I was just dealing with stuff at home. That meeting didn't go well. I didn't lose a promotion, but they postponed the decision, which is corporate speak for, we don't trust your stability right now. When I told Maddie what happened, she acted surprised. Said, "Wow, I thought you had it in the bag." No apology. No acknowledgement that she had anything to do with how thrown off I'd been. And then she added, "Maybe it's for the best. Less stress for you and more time with me." That was the moment something shifted in me. She wasn't just insecure. She was actively undermining me. Because when I got better, when I grew, she lost control. And I think deep down, she knew that. Up to that point, Maddie had lied about small stuff. White lies, half-truths, little twists of reality. Things you could almost ignore if you squinted hard enough. But then came the lie that hit different, the one I couldn't unhear. It started with a random Wednesday. She told me she was heading to a yoga class after work. That part wasn't new. She'd been into yoga lately. Said it helped with her emotional balance, which I thought was a good thing. So I told her, "Cool, have fun," and went about my evening. I even picked up her favorite takeout for later. Thought I'd surprise her. But on my way home, I took a different route, one I don't usually use. And I swear, I wasn't even looking for anything, but there she was, walking out of a cozy little wine bar with some guy. Not a friend, not someone I recognized. Some guy with a man bun and a leather jacket, laughing at whatever she said. She didn't see me. I was far enough away to stay unnoticed. They hugged, too long. Then he kissed her on the cheek, and she got in her car. I just sat there, gripping the wheel, heart pounding. Every excuse ran through my head. Maybe that was her friend? Maybe she canceled yoga? Maybe there's some totally innocent reason for all this? But my gut knew, and it wasn't even about cheating yet. It was the fact that she'd lied, boldly, easily, without a blink. When she got home, I asked how yoga went. She smiled and said, "So good." The instructor did this new flow that totally melted my anxiety. She even did a fake stretch, like she'd really been there. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't call her out. I just watched her. Watched the way she talked, moved, bullshitted me like it was second nature. She'd been lying for a long time. This was just the first time I caught her. That night, while she showered, I sat on the couch in total silence. And I realized I didn't trust a single word that came out her mouth anymore. The fog was lifting, and what I saw underneath wasn't pretty. After that night, I couldn't let it go. The wine bar, the fake yoga class, the cheek kiss. I kept replaying in my head like a loop I couldn't shut off. And her? She acted like everything was normal. Hugged me the next morning like nothing happened. Asked if I wanted pancakes or eggs. Smiled like she hadn't lied straight to my face less than 12 hours ago. That's when I knew I had to stop trusting what came out her mouth and start paying attention to what she did instead. So I got smart. Nothing dramatic, just subtle. I stopped announcing my schedule. I stopped sharing every detail of my day. I started checking phone bills. Her phone had always been glued to her hand. But one night while she was in the shower, I finally looked, just for a second, and I found it. Dozens of texts to a guy named Brent. The name alone sounded made up like a placeholder, but the messages weren't. Flirty, private, way too familiar stuff. No outright nudes or anything, but plenty of "I needed that today" and "you always make me smile." She had never talked to me like that when we were in a good place. I didn't confront her, not yet. I needed more. Needed be sure. So I took a photo of the screen and sent it to myself. Then deleted the evidence. I felt sick doing it, but also kind of powerful, like for the first time in forever, I had the upper hand. The next day, She told me she was going to a book club. I nodded, smiled, said, "Have fun." Then I followed her. I felt insane, like I was in some bad Netflix drama. But I kept my distance. She drove across town and parked outside a little coffee shop, sat in her car for a few minutes. And then he got in, same guy from the wine bar. Brent, I guess. They sat in the car, talking for a while. Too close, laughing. Then they drove off together. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. That was all the proof I needed. It wasn't just emotional manipulation anymore. It wasn't just gaslighting, guilt trips, and cold shoulders. This was betrayal on every level. And the sickest part? When she came home that night, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, handed me a muffin, and said, "The girls loved our book pick." She was lying, right to my face, with a smile. And suddenly, I wasn't sad anymore. I was furious. After that night, everything about the way I looked at Maddie changed. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I was done fighting, done begging, done explaining. I just started planning. Little things at first, quiet things. Moved some money into a separate account. Stopped sharing my calendar. Took pictures of important documents. I even started looking for new apartments when she was out at book club. The whole time, she had no idea. But Maddie wasn't stupid. She felt the shift, how I wasn't as emotionally available, how I wasn't taking the bait when she picked little fights. I think she could tell that her grip on me was slipping. And let me tell you, that's when things really got dark. She started love-bombing me hard, cooking my favorite meals, sending long texts about how much I meant to her, digging out old pictures from when we were happy and saying, "Remember this? Look how good we were." It was so performative, like she was playing the role of the perfect girlfriend. And then, just like that, she flipped again. One morning, I was getting ready for work, and she randomly goes, "Do you even want to be with me anymore?" Her voice was flat, but her eyes were wild. I didn't say anything. I just stood there. She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her. Later that day, she texted me, "I don't know what I did to make you hate me. I feel like I'm losing you. I don't want to live without you." That message hit me like a punch to the gut. Not because it was real, but because I knew she was playing the victim. And I knew that if I gave in, it would all start over. The silence, the guilt, the lies. That night, she cried harder than I'd ever seen. Said things like, "I know I've made mistakes, and I'm just scared of losing someone who makes me feel safe." And I'll admit it, part of me almost folded. After all the lies, all the betrayal, she still knew how to pull at my emotions. That's how deep I was in it. But then I remembered Brent. I remembered her getting into that car, laughing like a teenager sneaking around after curfew. And suddenly her tears didn't mean much anymore. I wasn't hers to manipulate now. I was just a guy sitting in silence, waiting for the right moment to leave. I knew the time had come to get out. Not with a bang, but quietly, without drama. So I started packing, slowly, carefully. Took boxes to storage in a few towns over, moved some clothes and essentials without raising suspicion. I didn't want a big fight. I just wanted out. But Maddie wasn't oblivious. She knew something was up. One night, I came home late from work. The place was dark. No sign of her. I called her. No answer. Finally, I found a note on the kitchen table. "If you're thinking about leaving, just know you'll regret it. Nobody will love you like I do. You're making a huge mistake." Classic Maddie, full of guilt and threats disguised as love. I ignored it, but then came the next day. She showed up at my office. I swear, I felt like I was in a movie. She was wearing that "I'm sorry" face, the one that says, "Please don't leave me." She brought me coffee and sat across from me, acting like everything was normal. I wanted to scream, wanted to tell her to leave. But instead, I stayed calm. I told her, "Maddie, I can't do this anymore. We're done." She burst into tears. Then suddenly, she said something I wasn't ready for. "You're just like every other guy. You think you can walk away when things get hard. But I'm the only one who ever really loved you. You don't know what you're throwing away." Her voice cracked, but it was full of poison. I stood up and walked away. That was the moment I finally stopped making excuses. That was the moment I took back control. After I told Maddie I was done, everything exploded. She stopped pretending. The texts didn't slow down. If anything, they got worse. I get messages at 3 a.m., long rant about how I was the worst thing to ever happen to her, how I'd never find anyone better, and how she hated me for leaving. One day, she even showed up at my apartment unannounced, pounding on the door, screaming my name. I didn't answer. Called the police once I felt safe. But here's the weird part. As Maddie fell apart, my friends and family slowly started coming back. Tyler, my best friend who Maddie hated, reached out. He said, "Dude, I told you so. Glad you're finally seeing what's real." My brother checked in more often. My mom called daily. I wasn't alone anymore. I had a team. It wasn't easy. Maddie's voice still haunted my head sometimes. Her accusations. Her what-ifs. But with my people around, I started remembering who I was before all this. I started going out again, laughing at dumb jokes, drinking beers without worrying about calling her back immediately. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. But Maddie wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse. Maddie crossed a line I never expected. Her messages turned from angry to threatening. She started showing up places she had no business being. My work, my favorite coffee shop, even near my new apartment. One night, I caught her outside my place, hiding in the shadows like some stalker from a movie. My heart stopped. I called the cops. They warned her off, but I could tell this was just the beginning. I told my friends everything. They started staying over sometimes, making sure I wasn't alone. I even changed my phone number. But Maddie didn't stop. She sent packages, creepy, twisted reminders of us. Old photos, love notes. Some even crossed the line into harassment. It was exhausting, terrifying, and it made me realize how deep this had all gotten. I had to be smarter. I had to protect myself. No more excuses. No more hope she'd change. This wasn't love. It was obsession. And I had to break free. For good. Things had gotten so out of control that I finally realized I needed more than just words and police warnings. I went to a lawyer and asked about restraining orders. The idea of legally keeping Maddie away felt strange at first, like admitting this nightmare was real. But it was also freeing. The process wasn't easy. I had to gather proof, texts, emails, photos of her showing up uninvited. I spent hours documenting everything. The lawyer told me, "This is about your safety. Don't feel guilty." When the restraining order was granted, I felt a mix of relief and guilt. Relief because finally, there was a barrier between us. Guilt because, despite everything, I still felt a little sad that things had ended like this. But mostly relief. No more unexpected visits. No more late-night threats. No more feeling like I was constantly watching my back. I started therapy, too. Needed to untangle all the damage this relationship had done to me. It wasn't over yet. Maddie wasn't done fighting. After the restraining order, I thought Maddie would back off. Nope. She hired a lawyer of her own and started fighting back hard, claiming I was the one harassing her, that I was exaggerating everything. It was exhausting. Every court date felt like stepping into a battlefield. I had to relive every nightmare, explain every text, prove every weird visit. At times, I wonder if I'd made a mistake, if maybe I was a bad guy. But every time doubt crept in, my friends reminded me why I was doing this. My therapist reminded me to trust my experience. And deep down, I knew the truth. Maddie wanted control. She wanted me to feel powerless. But I wasn't going to let her win. The judge saw through her act and kept the restraining order in place. It wasn't a total victory, but it was a start. I was finally free to start rebuilding. After court battles and all the chaos, I finally started to breathe again. I moved into a new place, one that felt like mine. I reconnected with old friends I'd pushed away and started picking up hobbies I'd let go of, like biking and cooking. Therapy helped me untangle the mess Maddie left inside me. Some days, I still felt angry. Other days, just numb. But slowly, I started remembering who I was before all the lies and manipulation. Still, the scars are there. I catch myself hesitating before trusting someone. I second-guess myself a lot more than I'd like. And sometimes out of nowhere, I get hit with flashbacks of the worst moments. It's like living with a shadow that follows me around. But I'm learning to live with it, to not let it control me anymore. I'm not the same guy I was when this started. And that's okay, because now I'm finally moving forward. Looking back, it feels like I went through a war I didn't sign up for. Maddie wasn't just a toxic partner. She was a storm that tore through everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and myself. But surviving that storm taught me a few things. First, trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. The signs are there, even if you don't want to see them. Second, never let anyone make you feel crazy for wanting respect and honesty. You deserve that. Always. Third, healing isn't linear. Some days are better than others, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself. And finally, it's possible to come out the other side. Stronger, wiser, ready to build a life that's truly your own. I'm still working on it every day. But now I'm hopeful. Not because I'm perfect, but because I'm free. If you're in a toxic relationship right now, I see you. You're not alone, and there's a way out. Thanks for reading my story. Stay strong.